This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hi, Alex.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I think I just poked myself in the eye, so that wasn't a good start to the podcast, but sure, continue. Have you lost the summer weather yet?
You know, it was boiling hot yesterday, and today we've got some rain, but they've promised some heat this afternoon, so we'll see.
They promised. I love that. I love that saying. I like why do we still believe that the weatherman is like a business, and that you've paid for a product and you're expecting to get it and they promise you to deliver something. We still see the weatherman as a guarantee of what they say. But
Yes, and then be unhappy when they don't.
yeah, exactly. If we actually did some statistics around
Accuracy.
accuracy and deliverability rates, would
Well,
probably be quite shocking.
maybe that's a good thing. We don't pay them because as soon as you start paying money, you expect accuracy, right?
Well, I guess we technically pay for them on the BBC if you're paying
If you
for
pay your TV license.
license. Yeah. But
Well, what about the Google one? I just look at the weather on Google on my phone.
do we pay Google? How do we pay Google? I'm sure no advertisers do it for us.
Yep, I hope I don't pay for Google. I must go check my accounts, but I don't think
Well, you have a Google phone, don't you? Or you have an iPhone? What do you have?
I have both. I have a Google phone and an iPhone, yes.
Ooh, very fancy. So I saw this quote the other day that I don't even know if it's a quote actually. I just saw this saying, and it just made me think how it's very relatable to us as marketers, and how we should go about creating processes and not making things too complicated. So the quote is, "Thinking is to humans how swimming is to cats. We can do it, but we'd rather not." So
I
I think
love it.
yeah, it's all about like we make lots of decisions every day, but we're not like fully conscious of the decisions that we're making, and so we're just making those quick decisions. And when we're forced to really think and make a real conscious decision, we don't really like doing it. It kind of actually causes us a lot of stress. And I was also thinking about that the other day when it was online, and I was just booking. I was like trying to buy something, like a service thing, and there was just like so many options for me to choose from, and I really had to think about, which one is going to give me more value.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to actually be told which one is going to give me more value, if you know what I mean. Like we're quite good at that in some of the tools we have. Like, I don't know, let's say a LinkedIn automation tool, and you've got the 3 different columns, the pricing table, and that works really, really well. This one, this one, this one, this is what you get. This one you get the same as in the starter pack, plus this, da, da, da. And that you don't really have to think, because you know what your business is and what your capabilities are, and it tells you the value straight away.
Although statistically, most people will just choose the middle one.
Oh, well.
So that's not thinking, right? So in line with your quote is most people statistically will go for the middle option because it's just the least. The high one could be wrong, the low one could be wrong, so they go for the middle.
No, exactly. So they've done the thinking for you. They said they put the one in the middle, and you think, oh well, the middle one must be the average one. So
Yes.
And that's the one where all the value comes from. So they've taken the thinking out for you. But
Yep.
It's like, remember when we did the campaign, in the life insurance campaign, I think it was like a accident product or cancer product or something that we did, and we did a test where we put lots of different add-ons and options, like things that they can get with it, and it flopped.
It did.
Because we just gave them too much and overwhelmed them, and they had to think. The moment you have to think, especially for a life insurance product, No one cares about insurance. Really, it's just not a sexy thing. So you just want to get in there, get out, get done. And as soon as you're given multiple options and other considerations, you just switch off. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is a good quote, but it's applies across marketing in terms of path of least resistance. But even in life, yesterday I went into London and there was a beggar on the tube, which I always find fascinating, right? Like in South Africa, I'm used to beggars, but
I think that's probably not politically correct these days, but
is it? What am I supposed to say? Homeless man? I don't know, but he was begging.
Homeless, yeah. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just going to guess that the politically correct community out there might say something.
But his action was begging, so therefore he was a beggar.
He was asking for help.
Oh, anyway, so he gave a whole speech in this really packed tube, like it was in the morning, right? So it was packed. And he gave a whole speech about his life and he lost his job in COVID and really sob story, really sob story. And well, someone please help him because he can then go to this hospital and all the rest. And the first thing I thought is, well, who has money? Like I don't have cash. Like I felt really sorry for him, but that like the first thing is, I don't have cash.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who has cash?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing I thought is, how did you get into the tube? Because that costs money.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I started thinking about the path of least resistance for this guy. Surely would have been to sit outside the tube station, not be on the tube. But maybe he's A/B tested, and this was his
Well, so getting on the
best
tube.
response.
Yeah, getting on the tube is quite easy. They just jump over the gate or they just walk through the gate. That happens all the time. I've seen that many times. But maybe you did do an A/B test because I think if you're sat outside the tube, that's when everyone's rushing to get into the tube, especially in the morning. And you said when they're packed, everyone just wants to get in there. They want to get their train. They want to make sure they're on time for work. But once they're in the train, they're sat doing nothing. They're stuck.
They're on their phones, right?
Yeah, they're pretending that they can't see or hear the other person. Although it's like, well, but we know you don't have Wi-Fi.
Exactly. There's no Wi-Fi in the tube. But then what is these options if people don't have cash anymore? So that the path of least resistance would be what? So he walks around with a card machine. I don't know. Yeah. But you got to make it easy for people, right? Easy for them to help you so that they don't have to think, as you said. Like, as soon as you're sitting there thinking, I want to help this guy, but I don't know how. I don't have cash. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to an ATM right now and asking you to follow me so you can see my PIN and then mug me when I'm there. No, let's not do that. Like, so your easiest resort is to do nothing.
Yeah. Well, I would say that for him, if you got to think, it depends what he really wants. So, we're going to still keep this with marketing. Like, well, what is it that you really want? Does he really just want cash or does he want food? Because if he wants food, and in today's age, like you said, people don't really have cash. Maybe the best place to be is sat outside a supermarket where you know that they can go and pay with their card, and you ask specifically for a sandwich and a drink.
Yeah. No, he was asking for cash. He said he needed cash. He needed £9.50 or something. That's what he gave, a very specific amount that he needed to pay to this hostel to give him a bed for the month. This was, I did listen. I listened intently to his story, but I had no cash. No cash. I remember I gave my last pound coin to my family when we went to the supermarket for the trolley, and I've just realized my daughter never gave it back. Like, I need to go find my coin.
Yeah. So, like, just again around that though, if like people, I mean, some people do have cash. Not everybody, but some people do have cash. And maybe I'm just going to speak from my own perspective. But if I do have cash, I often don't give cash to homeless people asking for cash. I do buy food and I do buy drinks. but I don't buy cash purely because I'm
You have
gonna be
trust
honest,
issues.
don't trust, yeah, I don't trust their intentions with the cash. If I know that the cash is, if I genuinely know it's going to a hostel or it's going to food or something, that's different. But it's hard to know that. That's why when I've been asked outside a shop, I do say, oh, is there anything you would like in particular? And I'll buy that. And it could be the same with them going to a hostel. You could go in there and pay on your card or something for the hostel. So it's like, which is also quite another good message you talk about, that are your intentions honest and authentic, and do your customers or your potential audience that you're speaking to, what doubts do they have in their mind? Like, you need to remove any of those doubts that they have. Otherwise you're just going to be going up a whole list of rejections and paths of resistance.
Yeah, and that's true. I did some carbon literacy training this week. And it's carbon literacy training. So
what is carbon literacy training?
It's training to understand the impact of getting to net zero, carbon literacy, right?
Okay.
Is it my accent?
Yeah, I thought it was like I had something completely different in my head, like something stupid, like how to read the writing of someone writing with carbon, like, like.
I did think about the literacy word. It's an interesting word, but that's what they call this course. But anyway, the reason that I was thinking about that is because of all the false information out there, because of the different political views, because of, if you as a business do go out and say, we're doing good for it, we're carbon neutral, you're up against so much conflict, right? You're up against so much disbelief and people going, that's rubbish, you've been conned by the government, that's a money-making scam. And one of the examples that we raised is, that whole, if you support my business, I'm going to plant a tree stuff. Even that, you have to be careful, because some of those plant a tree schemes plant the wrong kind of tree. So it actually kills biodiversity. They don't last long because they're not actually supposed to be planted here or wherever they're being planted. So even when you think you're doing good, you might actually be harming the environment if you've picked the wrong horse, if that makes sense. Like if you've backed the wrong guy, you're like, oh, I'm going to support this guy because they planted a tree, and actually they're planting, fir trees in England, which is like, no, that's not what we need to improve biodiversity and do all the rest of it. It's the complete wrong thing. So then, like, the suggestion is rather make sure that the planted tree scheme is like sponsored or endorsed by the Department of Forestry, or like some sort of national body behind it that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know that? Like, I've been supporting these planted tree people for ages, and now I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Well, so there's two things. Once you said that just come straight to my mind now. The first one was so tuna, the tins of tuna you get, and on there there's a sustainable fishing stamp or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is actually funded. You buy that, basically. You buy that stamp, and so imagine how many boats there are in the world fishing for tuna. Do you think they have enough people to go on, an independent person to go on every single boat in the world to make sure that tuna has been fished in a sustainable fashion? No. So what actually turns out is that the organization that gives that stamp, for example, they have like less than 1% of their people on boats that are fishing for tuna in the world. So A, they don't have the proper oversight for it, and B, people just buy that stamp.
Sounds like call center quality control. 1% call listening, but all our calls are perfect.
Yeah. But that's what it means. So now you see that and you think, and that goes a long way to a brand. You know, I remember buying, I was like, I only buy sustainable fishing tuna.
Yeah.
But probably what I've just bought actually isn't sustainable. You know, so then the trust I have for that brand is just completely lost, and the trust for the brand and also for the mark. It doesn't mean anything for me now.
Yeah.
And now,
and it ripples your distrust, because now anyone who says the word sustainable, your first thought is, are you another one of
yeah,
these? Like, how much work do I have to do to actually investigate
exactly.
how real it is? And now we're back to your first quote. This is killing my brain. It's too much thought. It's too much work. And then we wonder why it's taking the world such a long time to understand that we have a carbon problem, right?
Yeah, and also to trust, like, what sources do you believe? And so just going on to my next point, you know, I think in our previous or a couple of episodes ago, I was talking about how much I absolutely loved the communication I got from Virgin Airways.
Yes.
Even though I was like a minus tier 1 customer, I still felt important. They've just had an ad banned by the ASA, because, well, let me just read it to you. A radio ad for Virgin Atlantic heard on 24th of November 2023 stated, on the 28th of November, Virgin Atlantic's Flight 100 will take to the skies on our unique flight mission from London Heathrow to JFK to become the world's first commercial airline to fly transatlantic on 100% sustainable aviation fuel. When they said it was too difficult, we said challenge accepted. Virgin Atlantic Flight 100, see the world differently. So the claim was around it being sustainable aviation fuel. And the ad was banned because, yes, it may be sustainable fuel is not sustainable fuel. So the way they make it is they make it from used oils and things like cooking oils and rubbish, and then they convert that into sustainable jet fuel. But what you're not being told is to make that sustainable fuel requires a huge amount of energy. And then the second thing they're not telling you about is that even though, okay, you're not drilling for fossil fuel, when you're burning the sustainable fuel, it still emits about the same amount of carbon as fossil fuel does.
Yeah.
So it's sustainable in the way that you're trying to reduce waste from used products like cooking oils, etc., etc. But it doesn't actually do anything to help the carbon footprint. So, you know, again, now it's like, now there's a big company, Virgin, who's saying this. Okay, so now the next time I hear somebody saying that what we're doing is we're helping the environment by getting to net zero because of blah, 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 is that, okay, is that actually true? Do I know the science behind it? I don't know the science before, and before I'm just taking it as face value, but now I have that doubt.
Yeah. And then it just becomes too much effort, right? As we spoke about the cats in the water, it's just too much effort now.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So now I'm thinking too much. I'm having to think too much, and it just makes my brain hurt, and it makes me close down. Like, hey, no, I don't trust anyone. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So now we know the problem. Because we still have to do business. We still need to do good in the environment. We still need to make changes. How do we overcome this? If we know that's the mindset of our consumer, that's the mindset of the buyer that we're trying to convince, right? How do we win now? We've spent a long time talking about the problem. Okay, what is the solution, Alex? How do we win?
Well, if we're talking about, if we take that as a good example, and if we don't want to be accused of greenwashing, I think that's the term now. So we know that people have that mistrust already for greenwashing. then if you're going to state something, there must be a really lovely way to be able to provide data that is beyond a reasonable doubt that it's true, but in a fun marketing way, you know.
Yeah.
That could be one way to provide that evidence. And I think, you know, that can go a long way. And it doesn't have to be, when I say like a nice, lovely marketing way, I mean, you don't have to send them to a 500-page document to read it. You can give them some hard, high-level facts that can be easily backed up.
Yeah. And I think for me, there's two parts. There's consistency in your message. So make sure that you stick to your message, because that's the other part, is if 1 week someone's saying X and then the next week they're saying Y, that's when your brain also goes into a fuzz, like, what? Didn't you say that last week? And then you're out, right? So consistency, make sure that your message is consistent. And then transparency in your data, as you say. So yes, you don't have to send them the 50-page report, but have the link available. So if someone has got time, the patience, the energy to be able to go into it, they can build up that confidence and go and have a look. And even the fact that you are transparent with your data will already give people an added level of trust. If you're hiding your data, immediately, why? What are you hiding? What is it you don't want me to know?
Exactly.
So transparency and consistency would be my two key things. And then back to not making them think. Keep your processes really, really simple. One click, ease of choice, not 500 choices. Take them down the path. Meet, and this is something that I see people do, is meet the need. So if you've done all your work of identifying your target audience, you know what their pain point is, make sure your product meets that pain point. Too often, people just make a product that meets the pain point plus 50 other things.
Yeah.
And it's too much, right? If I have a nail in my foot, take the nail out. You can upsell me later, right? Like, absolutely. Give me the upsell options after you've solved my problem.
What is the thing that's immediately give the most value? And just do that one thing. Ignore the rest that doesn't, you know, put them on the back burner. Let's
or sequence them in upsells, because then people, once you've solved the problem, they've built trust, you've got credibility, then they become an existing client. We all know it's much easier to sell to an existing customer than to a new one. So solve the problem, get them through your door, and then you can work through your funnels. But too often people punch too much stuff in that upfront thing that the actual pain point that you're solving is hidden.
Yeah.
And someone's like, but I didn't want 55 templates and, you know, and whatever. I didn't want that. I just wanted this problem solved.
Yeah.
Because that's when they're thinking. They got to think, well, what are these 55 extra things? Am I paying for these 55 that I didn't want to? And actually, I only want there, brain freeze straight away. Like, no thanks. I'm out.
Exactly. Yeah. And if credibility is the thing you want, don't get banned by the ASA.
Yes, that's probably a good plan. Don't do that.
But that links to your point of, you know, making sure that your marketing message is backed up by real data. I guess you don't even need to present that data, as long as what you say is true, because because people will always want to find an error in what you do. Always. But if you've got the data to back it up, and you're 100% confident that this cannot come back on you, then you've got no problems. It reminds me, I don't know if you've seen Baby Reindeer on Netflix.
No, I haven't.
Have you heard about it?
I think you told me, but I haven't had time to watch it.
Okay, well, I'm absolutely sure our listeners will have watched it, because it was really big. Anyway, basically, there was this TV show about the stalker, and a guy and then a female stalker, and it says this is absolutely true. This is a true story, not based on a true story, not inspired by real events or anything. This is a true story. And for example, the lady in this TV show, she was sent to prison for 4 years or something. Anyway, she's now suing Netflix because they found out who that real person was. So they also neglected. They made it easy for internet sleuths to find the real person, and people just found her. And then she came out into public to give her side of the story. She said, "This is not true. This is not true. This is not true. This is not true." And now they're in court with Netflix. And but before that, Netflix also had their chief lawyer in front of the court and in front of Parliament or something, saying, "We absolutely back the author of this story, that it's 100% true. We've done all of the checks. It's absolutely watertight. We're completely behind this person. And everything is true." And anyway, it turns out it's not true. It's a fabrication, most of it. So now you think, when I watch a Netflix show and it says this is a true story, it's like, is it?
Oh, it's so difficult. Like, there's such, I'm not a big fan of the Olympics. I don't watch it really. Well, I don't watch any sport, but there's so much controversy about even that. So true stories. I think was an Australian breakdancing woman. There's a lot of stories around that, and like, it's just you get inundated, right? You just don't know what to believe anymore. Like, it's just,
you do not.
It's overwhelming, right?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a. Who are we talking about this with? Anyway, I was thinking, I feel like there's going to be a was this on our podcast? Just suddenly getting deja vu, sorry. But yeah, I think there's going to be a huge change at one point from the media that we consume. There might be like a temporary death of social media because
it was our last podcast.
Was that? Yeah.
Tom was saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I know we're just getting towards the end of this episode now, but something I heard the other day. I think it was CNN and Fox News. They're the biggest news networks in the States, and the one show that they have, like the main news show that they have, over 3 hours every week for a month. You'd think they'd probably have like millions and millions of viewers, right? Because it's the US, it's huge, and it's CNN and it's Fox News. But no, the highest viewership they had was 150,000.
Wow.
And
how sustainable is that?
No, it's not. So basically what they were saying is that
why would advertisers pay for that space?
Yeah, exactly. But consumers have completely lost trust in mainstream media because people are just seeing the news anchor as just as a puppet, just reading from a script. So what people believe now is people in podcasts, influencers, because they feel like these guys and these people are just having a genuine chat and not being influenced by anything else. If they really knew the truth, they would think differently. Anyway, but like because let's say, I don't know, Joe Rogan. He has probably the biggest podcast that's around at the moment. He gets millions of views every podcast, and he does like two podcasts or whatever a week. It's just completely blowing and he talks a lot about current affairs and stuff, for example. And there's millions of people like him, but people listen to that now for their news. But that stuff is not fact checked either.
No. Well, before we depress everybody who's listening, all of these confusing messages and overwhelm is what's happening to your target audience every single day. So when you're thinking about your marketing message, make sure you're considering that. Are you in the space where they are listening, but are you portraying the right image that they can trust what you're saying, that you seem credible, that you're not creating more overwhelm to what they have to do, but making their lives really easy to solve the pain point that they need solved? Yeah. So that would be my sum up of our really interesting chat today. Alex, anything you want to add?
I would just say, take the CNN Fox case study as a good example of, even the biggest players like them, who are probably not, they seemingly haven't connected with what's really going on in the world, because they're pushing forward and it's still not working, and their customers have shifted their interests and their trust, and they've gone to a different medium. That could be happening to you. It doesn't matter what it is. You're selling shoes or software. That can be happening. Like, understand have your ear to the ground and understand what your customers are looking for and how trends in the world are changing and how that affects consumption. And being aware of that will make sure that you're always staying relevant.
Absolutely. Well, an intense episode today, Alex. Thanks for a great chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
See you soon.
Next time. Cheers. Bye-bye. That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.